And we're coming to you live from the Bill Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network and wherever you are in the free Odyssey app. Good Tuesday morning. We are right back in familiar territory with losses around here. This is now 4 straight for the Knicks and Rangers. We were riding high. We were feeling great. We were in a place we hadn't been in a very long time, and now we have sat back down on that old familiar couch in our favorite spot with loss after loss after loss. That doesn't mean that things are over. The Rangers still with a 3-2 advantage. The Knicks are tied up with the Pacers. They got a home game tonight. There's still positive things that can happen. But, oh, boy, you go from Feel Good Friday, where we were, to Tuesday this morning. A lot has changed. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
You know, I've been better, Jay, but I'm not going to sit here and lament the fact that, the Hurricanes won a game last night, that they totally outworked the Rangers. The Rangers have nobody but to blame them for other than themselves. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and complain about officiating or any of that crap. That's not the way you go about things. You go about things, you got to play through stuff, and you got to man up, and you got to show up. And I got to say, Rod Brendamore, the coach of the Carolina Hurricanes, is out coaching Peter Laviolette right now. And the way that the team, their team, the Canes, came out in Game 1 was the way I thought the Rangers would come out in Game 5. And the Rangers didn't come out the way that I thought that, was required in order to take out a team like the Hurricanes. It's a very prideful team, a team that's got a lot of skill on it, got a lot of grit on it. And, all I could say is that we were teetering the whole entire game. They did not come out with the sense of passion that the fans had last night before the game started at the Garden. They didn't live up to that edge, and it reminded me, I'm sad to say, a couple of those games against the Devils last year. This is the worst game that they have played, I would say, probably in about a month. And, you're going to have down times. You're playing against an aggressive team. You're playing against a very good team who's been on your ass the whole year, and you still have the series lead, and you can go down and turn this whole thing around and win a game Thursday night down in Carolina. And if you don't win that game, you still have Game 7 at home in your back pocket. It's the same thing I would say about the Knicks. Like, the Knicks have to win tonight. They have to win. But I think about last night, and I had a bunch of guys, friends, that were at the game. And, of course, I have all my Ranger text threads going on and everything else like that. And every single person every person that I would text with during the game, all were saying the same thing going into the third period, that the Carolina Hurricanes were going to come shooting out of that locker room and they were going to be flying, and that the Rangers would have to be ready for it. And I was like, Laviolette's going to get these guys ready for it. He's going to wake them up. He's going to say something. And then I don't know what, like, Kreider and Zibanejad and Panarin, I don't know what they were doing at the beginning of the third period. I mean, it's like everybody fell asleep at the same time. And, they leave Igor out there on an island, and Igor has saved their ass quite a bit, throughout the year. And he's a great player, and he is the guy. But I don't know if Zibanejad got hurt last night due to a cross-check / spear from Brett Burns.
He was doubled over on the bench, and they showed him a little bit, but then you didn't hear much about it, much like every other NHL injury. You didn't know what was going on, but he was definitely in some pain. I just don't know how much it affected him.
He might have gotten a rib or something, could be some lower back situation, and, I mean, that was a penalty that was not called. They had too many men on the ice. That wasn't called either. I don't want to go down that road because that sucks. It's really up to the players. And when Kuznetsov beats Panarin down the ice, that's all you need to know. I mean, Kuznetsov has been a mess all year long. He got let go of by the Washington Capitals because he had some off-the-field issues. Came here, took some stupid penalties by the Hurricanes, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he scores a goal in Game 4 and then scores a goal here in Game 5 and beats Panarin down the ice on defense. I mean, That's just hustle. That's just attention to detail. That's all the things that the Rangers have showed this year. So I'm not jumping off the bandwagon by any stretch of the imagination, but their performance last night was listless. It didn't reflect who they are as a team and what they've been as a team. And when Zibanejad and Kreider are -2 and Panarin's again a -2, that just tells you all you need to know, that your stars, which have showed up all year long, last night had another off game, and this is 2 in a row for Panarin. He had one shot, and it came in the first period, and it came from the corner, and that was it. And I don't know whatever Rod Brendamore, the coach of the Canes, has done to take him out of his offensive comfort zone. That deserves a major kudos from the Canes standpoint. And the Ranger power play has been atrocious the last 2 games. They have figured something out, and they have put a lot of pressure on Adam Fox, and they can't keep the puck in the zone. So what went from being a real advantage and a strength has now turned into, in the last 2 games alone, basically kind of like the puff piece. Like they're not even getting pucks to the net. So I'm not saying that they're going to lose this series. I don't believe that. I believe that they'll show up and they'll show us the resilience that they've shown us all year. But they're going to have to fight back. Somebody is going to have to step up and say enough is enough. And it's usually a guy like Kreider that does that in this situation. And we'll see if he's the guy that can ignite this team somehow.
Yeah, I don't know if you felt the same way, but after the Trouba shorthanded goal, the place was going absolutely crazy. You're thinking, here's this team again with another shorthanded goal. It's Game 5 at the Garden. Things should be now trending in the direction of the Rangers the rest of the way, but that's when things went south. It's like that's when the switch was turned, almost like the Rangers got more relaxed and the Hurricanes got that sense of desperation again that they needed. I mean, and that was the thing that was disconcerting to me, because this Ranger team, the entire postseason, when they've had opportunities to step on the throat of the opponent, they have taken those opportunities even when they haven't played as well as their opponent in the game. They still found a way to win. So I'm thinking, all right, Garden crazy, forget about Game 4. That's done now. You get the first goal of the game. It's shorthanded. It's Trouba, who's, of course, had his, I don't want to say issues, but obviously he gets dropped down. We've talked about that, his ego, the captaincy, everything that has gone on. And he's still been a physical player. He gets that goal. I'm thinking, whew, here they go. This is it. Now we're going to see 4-0 Rangers. It was almost as if that moment the Hurricanes said, oh, God, here we go again. Our backs are up against it. And they woke up. That was the smelling salts for them and not the Rangers.
You know, it's amazing. You have a better chance of scoring shorthanded than you do all of a sudden with your power play and your 5-on-5 situation. Here's a buddy of mine last night at the Garden. It's electric. Too bad you can't be here. Got it. And it says, you know, they seem a little flat. This is in the first period. They seem a little flat. And I said, yeah, they're sleepy. And he says, sure, you're too kind. They're pitiful. And basically that was the prevailing thought from everybody that I was basically talking to during the game or texting with during the game, is that for some reason this team morphed into a team that we, maybe would see in January or maybe December, and maybe one of those sleepy night games where Rempe would go out there and get in a fight and then try to, get everybody going again.
Yeah.
So I'm really disappointed this morning that they didn't close it out, and they haven't closed it out. And their best chance probably was in Game 4 when they tied the game late, and then Lindgren takes the tripping penalty, and Brady Shea ends up scoring the power play goal in order to win Game 4. And then all of a sudden it seems like I thought last night they were going to come out like the Hurricanes came out in Game 4, like they were just going to be all over them. And maybe for a minute or two early on, it felt like the Rangers had a little bit more of the play in the Hurricane end. But after that, it was like a flat game, and that's exactly what you want when you're the visiting team.
Yeah, and this is a huge moment, these next 2 games, or this next game. I guess you got to go one at a time here, especially when you're up 3-2. For Artemi Panarin, because he had been so spectacular throughout the regular season and so spectacular in the playoffs so far, seeing all the things that you wanted to see from him since he's been here in the postseason that he wasn't necessarily doing in these previous years, especially, being a little more physical, not taking any crap from anybody, leading the team, shots on goal, just constantly being a factor in the star that he needs to be if the Rangers are going to win a cup, and then just poof, gone the last 2 games. Now, I still believe that what we've seen from him this year has been different, and he's going to have another great game. But if I'm a Ranger fan, I'm not upset at any Ranger fan take this morning thinking that this is a bad trend for him. And once again, here he is in a postseason situation and disappearing at the worst time. If somebody has that take, I'm not going to say it's a negative take. I'm going to say you've seen enough already from him in situations like this that when he puts together 2 games like this, you're thinking, are we ever going to see him score again?
Well, he's -5 in the last 2 games, and that's a bad stat. And last night it was wide open for everybody to see. Like, Kuznetsov beats him down the ice, and that's his responsibility. And, he has been a responsible player for the most part this year. He's been a much better decision maker when it comes to passing. And this is what happens when you lose. You end up, going under a microscope, and everybody wants to know what's going on. I'll tell you, really, I do worry about Mika Zibanejad, though, this morning. I
From an injury standpoint.
I do.
Yeah.
I do, because that was about as cheap a shot as you're going to take. And, if he has a broken rib or he has a lower back strain or something because of this Brett Burns hit in front of the net on a power play, by the way, which should have turned into a 5-on-3, then all of a sudden things drastically change because, he's your 200-foot, one of your top 4 players on your team, and he's a playmaker. He gets everybody better, so hopefully he's going to be okay. And we won't know that until probably game time. They may not say anything until game time. And who knows if Filipino will be back in the lineup? Who knows if Johnny Brodzinski will be in the lineup? I don't think Matt Rempe will be in the lineup on the road, just simply because of the changing of the lines, and it's in favor of the home team. So I'm disappointed. Like I said, I am really disappointed. I'm not going to sit here and get too angry about it because I've seen this team all year this year stay in front of the Hurricanes all year. Every time the Hurricanes got close, the Rangers would pull away. Then the Hurricanes would get close, the Rangers would pull away. And I'm kind of thinking that's the same thing that's going on right now. They've gotten close. Now the question is, are the Rangers going to let them overtake them and overcome a 3-0 deficit, which would be about as embarrassing as it gets for the Ranger organization, for Peter Laviolette, and the players who have played so well this year.
Yeah, and we've seen them up 2-0 against the Devils, up 2-0 against the Lightning. There is, even though it's one game, there's a much bigger difference when you are up 3-0 and you blow that lead. Now, hockey is crazy. You've seen more 3-0 comebacks in hockey than you've seen in baseball and basketball, just because it's a different sport and momentum changes and puck luck and all these weird things that happens in the game. But it still would be absolutely unacceptable for an organization that won the President's Trophy to be up 3-0 and tied late in Game 4 to sweep a team and then end up losing the series. But we're not there yet. We're not
there yet. But I'll tell you one thing: there has to be a sense of urgency. And what I hope is that they go back and they look at the tape, and I hope that the coach doesn't hold anything back. It says, here's why we win, and here's why we lose. We lose because we're lazy. We win because we have maximum effort when we're on the ice every time. And that's why I never touch the money. That's why I say one shift, one period, one game. It's all stupid cliches. I get it. But with that performance last night, that coach has got to do something now to spark this team and get it back on track, especially when it comes to the power play. And you know when they're playing well, when they force other teams to take 4 or 5 penalties a game. Because that means they're skating, that means they're putting pressure on teams, that means they're, forechecking, that means they are, they're the hooks, the trips, all that kind of stuff that the Rangers were doing last night normally happen when the Rangers are on top of their game for them. And that was not the case last night. And it started right at the beginning of the game. The 1-0 lead was tedious, to say the least, or tenuous, I should say, to say the least, going into the third period. We all felt it. We all knew it. And then Jordan Stahl just basically catches the Rangers in a bad change, goes right around Braden Schneider, and he's been a pain in the ass this whole series. And he's a really good player, but he's an older player, and they can't allow like a 36-year-old center to dominate them. They just can't.
Yeah, well, he's been, it's funny, they were talking about on the broadcast last night, the Selke Award is for the best defensive offensive player. And it's the longest stretch in the history of that award that someone has been nominated for it. So, he was nominated for it 12 years ago, and then again now, just showing you how well he played the entire year and in the postseason. But you're right, he's an older player now, and that shouldn't be happening, especially with the high-flying Rangers. Now, the Filipino thing is not great either. I mean, we're not going to really know what's going on with him, as we've talked about many times, these NHL injuries. They say illness. It could very well have something to do with the concussions that he has experienced, and that would just be brutal for him to finally work his way all the way back, get out on the ice for the postseason, and then essentially not be able to because of concussion symptoms. I'm hoping it's something else.
I will say this: if he doesn't play Thursday night, it's all because of the concussions. It's not because of some illness. To me, it's all because of the concussions. And they want to be really careful with him, which I can truly appreciate, being someone who has suffered from many concussions himself. as at times you can tell.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, you think about teams and you think about how seasons can come to a crashing halt after a great season. So just to give everybody a perspective of what's happening somewhere else in the NHL, Colorado's got a great team, and everybody thought, man, this is going to be a team that's going to go right to the Stanley Cup final. One of their best players just got suspended because of failed drug tests on the third time. And that's Valerie Niskushin, I think.
Niskushin.
Yes, Niskushin.
Niskushin, I barely know her.
And then all of a sudden, they get ripped last night by the Dallas Stars. They're down 3-1 in that series. So, I guess misery loves company. The point being is that the Rangers can do something about it, assuming that everybody's healthy. This player for the Colorado Avalanche was one of their better players, one of their scorers, and he's got a major problem, and it showed itself, and it shows up right in the middle of the Stanley Cup playoffs, which for the Colorado Avalanche, it obviously affected them last night.
Was it a PEDs or street drug stuff?
I think it's street drug stuff, I think. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm not sure.
I'm just asking out of curiosity.
I'm not sure what they're testing for. Kuznetsov got in a little bit of this stuff with the Capitals, and then they released him, and then Carolina picked him up figuring, let's see what we got here. Let's see, this was a talented player at one time. Maybe he just needs another fresh start somewhere, and hopefully he can keep himself straight. And by the way, he's taking stupid penalties. That's the other thing. Took another stupid penalty last night. And but yet he ends up scoring and beating Panarin down the ice, which was just that on tape in that situation when it's 1-1, that's a bad look. That is a really bad look for one of supposedly the best players on the team. And, Panarin's got to figure out what's going on with him unless he's hurt. I don't know. I have no idea. You never know about guys on both sides that are dealing with injuries due to hits that they've taken, pucks that they've blocked, sticks that they've been slashed with. I mean, it's everybody's dealing with something right now.
All right, Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. Jerry Recca will join us in just a little bit. Another bad loss for the Mets last night. He'll give you that and, of course, all the Rangers stuff.